This program is made possible by the loyal financial support of the friends and partners of Family Policy Institute.
You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world.
Good evening and welcome to Salt and Light. Thank you for joining us. Tonight my guest is Bruce Retief, who is a film composer, and I've invited Bruce into the studio to talk about a remarkable movie that is going to be released soon in South Africa called The Least of These. Bruce, welcome to the studio and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Errol. Good to be here.
So you've just been in New York a few weeks ago for the release of this movie, The Least of These,
Yes.
starring Stephen Baldwin. And this movie tells the story about a family that traveled to India on a missionary trip to work with the lepers in that country. And the man, the husband, the father, and his two young sons were killed by Hindu activists. I watched the movie. It is a tearjerker. It is remarkable. It is challenging. It's all kinds of things. But what I love about it, it's the strong evangelism theme that comes through.
Yes. Well, the family had actually been living in the country for a number of years. In fact, Graham Staines, the father, had been there for 35 years already when this incident happened.
Yes.
And the movie, what I like about the movie is that it's not a preachy movie, but it just shows how passionate he was about evangelism and what he was prepared to face and go through to achieve it.
Yeah, that's what my wife and I, the first thing we said after we watched the movie is, we complain about things, we're serving God in various ways, and then we face challenges or hardship, and we tend to complain and grumble about it. I said I would never do that again. I would never complain about anything. If you consider what this family went through just to serve God faithfully, that call to go to a foreign country, because they're Australians, travel to India and work with lepers, not just ordinary people, but lepers, and to serve those people and love those people, and then to ultimately to give his life, him and his two young sons, to give their lives for this cause. And Bruce, what I found most remarkable is that the wife and the teenage daughter decided to continue to stay on in India and serve those lepers, serve those people, despite the horrific incident they experienced.
Yes. Yeah, she, Gladys, the wife, amazed everybody with her reaction. She had this immediate attitude of forgiveness towards the people who killed her husband and two sons. And not only did she do that, but she didn't up and leave back to Australia. She stayed there and she continued serving in the face of what had happened, which was an amazing reaction and really a testimony to what God can do in someone's heart and in someone's life.
Yeah.
And you know, the suffering of him and the children being killed was obviously the main culmination of the suffering. But for so many years, living under those conditions is already a sacrifice. So they had already sacrificed their lives in a way, you know.
Yeah, that's what stands out in that movie, just the sacrifice they made, because my wife and I watched it, and these are the questions we were talking and asking each other, would we do this? We've got to be honest with ourselves. If God called us to go to India or to some other place where, living conditions are difficult, and to work with lepers, would we do that? And after her husband was killed, the first thing this woman said to the crowd when the police came to her and informed her, she said, we have to forgive these people. Could we do that?
Yeah, we have it easy. We have it easy here.
We do. And the theme of this program that we're doing is evangelism. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is, I know you're not an evangelist, you write scores for movies and music for movies, in South Africa, it's fairly easy to evangelize. We don't have the kind of challenges that family faced in India with Hindu mobs and Muslim people wanting to stop them, wanting to kill them, false accusations all the time against them. We've got it easy in South Africa, and yet we don't see a lot of evangelism. It's not, pervasive in the church today. Most church happens in buildings. People are happy to go to church, but you don't see people going out and sharing the gospel because they feel it's a little bit uncomfortable. And
Yeah, I think in a country like ours, we've actually started to believe a false gospel, and that is that Jesus is there to give you all your monetary and health needs that you have. And the actual unpopular message that you're a sinner and that you need to be forgiven, that's your main need, not money or wealth or health, but the fact that you're a sinner and that you need to be forgiven, that's the main message that should be preached by the church. But it's not. It's difficult to preach that message.
Yeah.
It's much easier to tell somebody, come to Jesus and you'll get a job, But to say you need to come to Jesus because you need your sins to be forgiven is not such a popular message. And churches that preach that message aren't that packed on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Graham Staines and his family, that is the very message that drove them to do what they did. And they couldn't look at a leper in the poorest parts of India and say, come to Jesus and you'll be healed. Come to Jesus and you'll get money. No. But the love that he showed to them basically was the gospel that they heard from him.
Yes.
And he demonstrated his love for Christ and his love for the people in the most startling way. And that is why people were convinced, and that's why people got saved through his ministry or turned to Christ. And that's what in the film, as you saw, the reason why he was killed was because he was accused of forcing people to convert or bribing them to convert, if you like, by paying them. Because they just couldn't understand how people's lives could change. Why would somebody give up their traditional beliefs and convert to Christianity in India? There had to be some kind of, coercion going on.
That's right.
And
they couldn't find any, so they made a false allegation against him.
And the truth is, it was just his love.
That's right.
The love that he showed, him and his family showed the lepers.
Yeah, and they couldn't understand that.
They couldn't understand
the people
that.
that killed him, the Hindus, mobs that came, they just couldn't understand that. So, Bruce, besides being a film composer and all kinds of other things, you have a famous father, which
Yes.
I love and respect very much. Your dad is Bishop Frank Retief, that many viewers would know was involved with St. James Church. And everybody knows what happened in 1993 in this country when terrorists went into the church and killed people, shot people. And his leadership during that time was remarkable. You also preached forgiveness right from the very beginning against the terrorists. And people couldn't understand that because it was quite a volatile time in our nation. But he stood as a representative of Christ. He did not compromise the gospel, and he called for forgiveness. And he's widely respected right around the country. I know he's mostly retired now, but I bump into him here and there. So,
well, retirement is a kind of a joke in our family, that word.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Because he's working harder now than he ever did before. Still ministering, still preaching, still running Bible studies.
Wonderful. And I know your brother as well, Grant Retief, is leading a church in Umhlanga in Durban.
That's right.
So when we travel there, we sometimes visit his church. So I know your family, so it's a great privilege meeting you and being able to talk to you about the great work you're doing.
Thanks so much. Well, I've always admired you and you're also not scared to stand up and say what's right. And our family admire that too. So I'm equally honored to be here.
Yeah, your dad has been a great encourager to me in my ministry over the years. He's been sending me emails, just encouraging me, and I really, really appreciate that. But Bruce, getting back to this movie, The Least of These, and it stars Stephen Baldwin, one of the Baldwin brothers, Hollywood Baldwin brothers, and I met him actually a few years ago in Washington at the Values Voters Summit as a Christian, new Christian. He came and shared his testimony, and people couldn't believe this is the brother of Alex Baldwin from Hollywood, and he was in this movie and that one. He's sharing the gospel and how he got saved. And people say, people in Hollywood can get saved.
Yes.
It's actually possible.
And what amazes me about his story is that he was saved through his housekeeper.
That's right.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's maid.
And
Latino maid.
Yeah, and she actually said, I didn't come here to work, I came here to tell you the gospel. And both he and his wife were saved through that.
It's amazing.
Which is a testimony to how the least of these can really be used by the Lord and
Absolutely.
and change a life.
So just think about that. The maid is going to work at a Hollywood star's home.
Yeah.
She's the maid. And she has the boldness to share her faith with this Hollywood star and his wife. And they get saved.
It's amazing.
Isn't God telling us something there?
Yeah,
That
and
we can speak to whoever. And it's really the power of God, right? That helps us to, because we don't get people saved. We just share our testimony or we share the gospel. And the power of God does the rest. It's not up to us.
Absolutely. And we're talking about persecution. There's different kinds of persecution, obviously. And Stephen Baldwin has been persecuted
Yes.
for his faith by Hollywood.
Oh, I know.
Hollywood have turned their back on him.
That's right.
Because of his faith.
Absolutely. So what we want to do, Bruce, before we go for a break, I want to show our viewers the trailer of this movie. I want them to see, just get an overview of what this movie is about. It's a powerful movie. I watched it. It's going to be released over the Easter weekend, but watch this and just to get a sense of the message that comes through this movie.
Tell me!
Leprosy is the veil behind which Staines operates. The tool he uses.
You bring me evidence of illegal conversion, I'll give you a permanent position.
One day I'll find the proof of him converting the tribals.
Who is he?
Staines. The law states that no person shall convert or attempt to convert any person from one religious faith to another. And yet not one missionary has been charged.
We can't make any mistakes. They have this law for a reason.
I know. We must pray.
Farmers are leaving their lands and families. But do the missionaries ever get the blame for this?
Actually, this sends out a good message. Teaches the Christians a lesson.
What does expendability mean?
And that's when you do something and some people think it doesn't matter. Write about the work, not about me.
Leave my children out of it.
Tell me!
You can still write the truth.
What is the truth?
The Bible says God created us from the dust of the earth. Dust for dust. Seek, and ye shall find.
You were talking about the truth, weren't you?
So fear, unfounded fear, prevents the people from doing good.
And what you do is good? What did he give you to convert?
You want the truth? Truth always seems to cost something.
Taniqua Stable Inn is a beautiful country guest house nestled among stunning fynbos in a tranquil setting with exquisite Indian Ocean views just outside Plettenberg Bay. Decorated in a rustic country western style with 4 double rooms and 2 luxury family suites, Taniqua boasts chic breakfast and dining areas with a cozy log fire, beautiful perch-on horses, horse and carriage rides, and a sparkling pool overlooking a breathtaking coastline. Taniqua Stable Inn is the ideal romantic getaway or family holiday. Call today or book online at www.taniqua.coza.
Welcome back to the program. I'm speaking to Bruce Retief, who is a film composer, and he wrote the music for the movie The Least of These, that is going to be released in South Africa over the Easter weekend. So Bruce, watching that trailer, it really is a remarkable movie, what God can do with an ordinary family, take them all the way to India to work with lepers, and then eventually the father and the 2 young sons giving their lives for that cause, a remarkable movie. Now, you wrote the music for that movie. You did the score for that movie, and you have some wonderful stories to tell, traveling to India, traveling to Hungary, Budapest, just to put the music together. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the music production stretched 4 continents because
Wow.
it was composed in Africa. And then I went over to India to record the Indian instruments. So we had mostly flute, played by Naveen Kumar, who's a fantastic, one of the best flute players in India, and a few other Indian instruments, percussion and sitar. And then from there we went to Hungary, Budapest, which is, East Africa have got a lot of good orchestras that hire themselves out much more affordably than the Hollywood orchestras. So that's why we went there. So we spent a few days in Hungary recording all the orchestral stuff, which then was combined with the Indian instruments. And then we took all that to Nashville, Tennessee to mix it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
India, Europe, and United States of America.
And Africa, and composed in Africa.
And composed in Africa.
4 continents. Yeah.
Wow. So it was.
And in Nashville, I worked with Brian Lennox, who is a Grammy Award-winning sound engineer. He's done work with all the top CCM artists there, and he's a good friend of mine, and we had a fantastic time. He made it really, really just blend so well and sound so great. So the music score is very unique in that way, and I was very, very pleased with the way it came out in the end.
So tell me how, I watched the movie, I heard the music, which is beautiful. It fits that movie perfectly.
Thanks.
And tell me the process. Do you need to write music for a movie? So you watch the movie and you have to kind of capture the essence of the movie to give you an idea on how the music would fit that? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's all about emotion. So the composer, his job is to tell the audience what to feel at the right time. Okay. Because a lot of scenes are pretty neutral. If you have, for example, have a guy walking down a road, it could be a scary scene, it could be sad, it could be happy. You don't know, the audience doesn't know what to feel, and so they've got to be told. And
the music does that.
The music does that. So a lot of it, the director will have to tell me what he wants for that scene. So he would come and say, right, in this scene, it needs to be sad but with a glimmer of hope, and then it's my job to make those emotions come alive with the music.
Okay, so it was quite a task traveling, to India, to Budapest, and then the United States of America, and get everything done. But the movie is the music is haunting. The movie is beautiful. It's inspirational. It's a tearjerker. You gotta cry just to see this family give their lives for Jesus Christ the way they did, to pay that price and then forgive. What my wife and I found remarkable was the woman's decision there and then to continue serving these lepers in India, even though a husband and 2 young sons were brutally murdered like that. She had to finish the assignment that God had given her.
Yeah. So what I like about the movie is that it shows her forgiveness, but it also shows the extreme pain that she felt, and the emotion.
Absolutely.
And so to try and enhance that with the music, it's not easy.
I can imagine.
When you're writing to evoke a specific emotion, it's a lot of work. If you're writing just a song that you want to put on your album, you just write whatever comes to you. But for that, you've got to force yourself to write that emotion.
To capture the mood, capture the essence of that movie.
Yes.
You've written for other movies as well?
Yes, I have. I've done a number of films, and it's always the same. You've always got to watch out for which emotions are required.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got a video of your travels to India and to Budapest and the capturing of, recording the music. I'm going to show our viewers that, and when we've done that, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the release of the movie.
Okay, so in the video that you're about to see, it's the main theme that was being recorded, and you'll see the flute player, and that's in India.
Okay.
And then you'll see the orchestra, and that's in Budapest. So we mixed the two together into one music video.
And you did that in Nashville, Tennessee, in the US.
The
mixing together?
Yeah, the mixing of all the music was done in Nashville, and then we just edited the video together to give you the idea of how it all worked out.
Okay, wonderful.
So in the video, you'll see the two continents. You'll see India and Budapest
coming together.
Yeah.
Watch this. Welcome back. So that remarkable video shows what actually goes into writing a score for a movie like The Least of These. And again, Bruce, it was remarkable. The movie, the music, everything about it. It's challenging, it's inspiring. And again, just this need for evangelism in our country. You see this family go to India and give their lives to share the gospel. And yet we're so comfortable in this country and we're not doing as much as we should be doing. So the movie is going to, you also acting as the distribution agent for the movie, and it's going to be released over the Easter weekend. So tell us about that.
Right, so just before, the week before the Easter weekend, we're going to have a big premiere event where some of the actors will be there and the red carpet and all that.
Oh, wonderful. Where will that be?
That'll be in Durban.
In Durban,
yeah.
Okay.
And the Shaman Joshi, who's the famous Bollywood actor who acts alongside Stephen, will be coming to that premiere. Okay. And so we're hoping for a big event and a lot of attention, media attention that time. And then thereafter, the film will be released in select cinemas around the country, and it will be released from the Easter weekend onwards.
Okay, so people can get information about this through the website?
Yes, you can log into the website, which is on the screen, and all show times and cinemas locations will be there.
Yeah, and I want to encourage South Africans, the Christians all over this country, to make sure they see this movie. It's called The Least of These. That is taken from the scriptures. Obviously, that's Jesus' words, the least of these. And it's a story about an Australian family, the Staines, Graham and Gladys Stain, with their Staines, with their family, traveling to India and living there for many, many years. How long was that, Bruce?
Yeah, well, Graham had been there for 35 years at the time that he died.
Years.
Yeah.
And working with the lepers. As you know about the caste system in India, these are the least people. These are the untouchables in India. So one of the remarkable things of the movie is that this family went there and loved these people and took care of them and showed them the love of Christ. And there's a twist at the end of the movie that is quite remarkable. And so I want to encourage every Christian in this country to go out and see this movie when it's released over the Easter weekend, and be inspired, because evangelism in South Africa, many people are saying this. In years gone by, I remember we used to have tents erected all over the nation and people preaching and evangelism going on. Today we hardly see that. People are not sharing the gospel. You don't see a lot of evangelism. And it is worrying, because I think the church, by and large, expect people to come to the church, come to our building, come to our church and get saved, but we're not going.
I think there's a huge influence on our culture to look out for me. You know, it's all about me. It's all about what I want. It's part of the worldwide movement towards the liberal side of my rights and my comfort,
my needs,
my rights. You know, it's all about me, and that I think that's leaked into the church. And people come to church to see, what can I get out of this? You know, what does this church offer me? You know, and that's the wrong question to be asking. What can I offer the church? What can I offer God? And that infiltrates our understanding of evangelism. You know, I'm not going to evangelize if it's going to put me in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
I'm happy to, serve the coffee after church, which is not a bad thing in itself. But if you're only willing to do things that keep you comfortable, then how's the message going to get out there? You know?
Yeah, I was watching, I think it was Jensen Franklin preaching on television. He was talking about take up your cross and follow me. And that message is not often preached today. I think we're preaching to people's comforts. You see
absolutely.
the buildings, beautiful buildings, multimedia, great bands and worship and smoke machines and lights. And so people come for entertainment.
Absolutely.
And they feel good and they leave feeling good about themselves. And the gospel is not about you feeling good.
Well, I think you can measure it by how much money is spent in each department. You know, how much money do we spend on the comfort aspect of the church? How much money is spent on evangelism and missions?
Very good point. And my next guest, I'm going to get Erin Georgia of Joy and Yake magazine in to talk about it, because her heart is evangelism and she's helping people and groups get the message out, because it's so difficult now just to send people out, and most Christians don't appear to understand it. I think the generation now, the young generation, is not even haven't been exposed to evangelism.
Yeah.
It's going to church and having, youth meetings and great times together in the church, but haven't been exposed to going out and sharing the gospel. And this movie, I think, puts the finger on the pulse of what we're missing in this country.
Yeah.
So if you watch the least of these and you see what this family went through to share the gospel in India with lepers and faithfully serve God, and that the wife and the daughter, after the husband is killed and his two young sons, forgives everybody and continues to serve those lepers for many years thereafter. It is remarkable, but it does tell us this is what serving Jesus Christ is all about.
It's a rebuke to us.
It is.
In our comfort zone.
Bruce, I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you're doing. I mean, writing music. People might think, writing music for movies, but you're getting this movie out. You're making this movie palatable for people to understand and get it, the emotions and everything. So you're playing a key role in that movie. So we want to thank you for the work you're doing, and maybe get you back later this year to talk about some other things you're doing. But the movie will be released over the Easter weekend. So watch social media, watch this show, and also go to the website to get more information for the release of the least of these. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Errol, for having me.